What was the best hit that you've ever had, and why is it the Flawless Mahomes? Never done this before, but I like to call this my Friends with Ben, Jeff Hoferer introduction for you.
My man. All right.
Let's get it started. Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Just bark like it's not the behavior. No, just the swing. Now get out there. Your solo's coming.
Don't wanna grow up. I wanna get out. Hey, take me away. I wanna shout out. Take me away, 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 away,
Jeff Hofer, welcome to Friends with Ben.
Am I allowed to talk now, dude? I don't want to mess up your intro.
No, that was pretty much it.
That was amazing.
That was a song from Freaky Friday, and yes, that was a Guitar Hero controller. I wanted to ask you to lead. I wanted to ask, as a result of that intro, what can you tell me about Freaky Friday as well as Guitar Hero?
Oh my goodness. Well, Freaky Friday is a classic. Everybody, that was pre-broken down Lindsay Lohan when she was still the sweet Disney princess. And of course, Jamie Lee Curtis. It's a great classic movie. And there may have been a cameo by a card collector.
Which card collector would that happen to be?
Gosh, man. That was me. And I knew immediately when I heard that song what it was from, because that day of taping, as you know, you're working on set yourself, you will hear the same song in a sequence like that 25 times. It was wild. And I that song still kind of haunts me, but it's been a few years since I've heard it.
Freaky Friday was one of those movies I watched as a kid, and it was like, I had a small crush on pre-trained wreck Lindsay Lohan.
Of course.
Just a small one, like anyone did. But what can you tell me about Guitar Hero?
Oh man. Okay, so Guitar Hero was one of the coolest gigs I've ever had. And granted, like I've happened into a lot of really fun jobs, fortunately, just randomly and with lots of luck. But Guitar Hero, they were recording. So if you are familiar with Guitar Hero, they have the audience singing in a lot of the songs. You hear like it's a live performance. So they were casting for like 5 people to sing all of these classic hits together. And literally, I was cast as the dude who couldn't sing, which is total truth. And the reasoning was there's at least one guy at every concert that's a horrible singer, but singing louder than anyone else. So you can hear their voice. So I was with like these trained singers who were singing beautifully along with these songs, like they're in the audience. And here I was, breaking windows and, hurting feelings with my voice. But it was a blast. Like, what a way to make a living for a couple weeks.
That's absolutely incredible, my man. So first off, one of the things that really drew me to you is I realized just how alike we really are in learning a lot about you. And one of the biggest things is we both share 2 common loves in sports as well as film. Or sports cards and filmmaking, right?
Absolutely.
In case it wasn't obvious with, that incredible performance there, but also as we were just talking about with your own cameo appearances, we both have acting backgrounds as well, somewhat. I mean, somewhat for me. I never had any epic appearances like yourself, but with that said, I have to ask, what can you tell me about your mother running for Kansas State Senate?
Oh my gosh, dude, you've done your research. This is really impressive, Ben. So when I was a kid, my mom, I grew up in Kansas. My mom, she had worked in politics, but she never ran for office. So she ran for the state Senate of Kansas, and she ended up winning a term. But I'm getting ahead of myself. During the campaign, you do campaign commercials. That's just what you do. So she had a series of local campaign commercials, which turned out to be my first on-camera job. Of course, It didn't pay very well, but the benefit was that my mom, won a job. So, I was in one of them. You may remember me as the kid that kicked the soccer ball to his mom. There was another one where I starred as the child saying the Pledge of Allegiance. These are pivotal roles in an actor's life.
Of course. These are like the Citizen Kane of child actors roles, right?
The Citizen Kane of a 7-year-old for sure.
Absolutely. To be an actor, you need to have that kind of like self-confidence.
Hey, have you ever talked about your acting background on any of your episodes? I'm curious myself. So what a great time to hear about this.
Mine's super minimal. Nothing, no big roles. I was never in like ACTRA or any agency or anything like that. Okay. But I went to school for comedy writing and performance. I heard that you, as a child, you wanted to be a stand-up comedian when you grow up, but apparently, there's no schooling for that, at least until a couple of years ago with me. So, that's how I got started, because I never really wanted to. I don't know if I felt like I was cut out for film and acting school itself. So that was kind of like that lateral move of like, okay, I'm still kind of in the space, we can do stand up, improv, sketch, do all that fun stuff.
I think you got it, Ben. So for what it's worth, I hope you don't, completely throw in the towel and just become a hobby content creator. There's more out there for you, brother.
Thank you, boss. I appreciate that. But speaking of sketch comedy, what can you tell me about Reese Rios?
Oh my gosh. Well, Reese Rios is a buddy of mine and also my arch enemy. So when I moved back to Texas from California, I was out in LA for a while. I was auditioning for commercials, which has been kind of my bread and butter over the years for acting. And so I would get really close to booking these really big commercial jobs. And, they would call it hold or right of first refusal. This is what when they narrow it down to a short list of like 3 actors. And these are for the people who haven't got out for auditions. So you probably know all this, Ben, but so they'll narrow it down, the field down to like 3 actors, which it's out of like 50 to begin with. So you're already feeling pretty good. And they put you on hold. It's like, you hold this date. If we decide you're the one, this is the day we're filming. So if you get put on hold, you can taste it. You're so close. And for some reason, I would get put on hold, and inevitably I would get released. And then I would find out, because we had the same agent, that Reese Rios booked this. And I can't tell you how many times I heard this. And finally, like, Reese and I became buddies. Mm-hmm. I was like, dude, you're such a nice guy, but I want to hate you because I can't tell you how much money you've taken from me, booking commercials over me. And, he's just the guy who he's incredibly likable. As we did a web series called Dallywood. It was like Hollywood and Dallas. And Reese plays my like arch rival. And I actually say in one of the episodes, he's impossible to dislike. And he literally makes himself impossible to dislike. But I really wanted to for a while there. But Reese in LA now killing it. He's nice. You would see that guy, like, you turn on primetime TV and you will definitely see Reese. in a massive like national commercial. He's doing very well.
That's one of those best examples of like when you're writing sketch comedy to draw from your own life experiences, right? All the best comedy comes from like an honest place. So
It does.
When I was watching that over, I was like, why do I feel like why does this? Because the thing is, it's like it's a very relatable story as well. So I was like, he must, Jeff must be drawing from some experience here. But no, I love it.
This is so appropriate though, because Reese is a big card collector.
No way.
He really is. He's a huge card collector. He's like one of my friends who, I'll post something on Instagram and I'll get a text from Reese saying like, dude, when'd you get that? That sort of thing. Like he's my card buddy now.
That's incredible. That's one of those perfect enemies turn better rivals, enemies turn like best friends, like stories, right?
Exactly.
And it all came from a sketch comedy, from a piece of sketch comedy. I love it.
It did.
But as I'm sure you know, making a living off of sketch comedy is next to impossible unless you're Lorne Michaels. It's tough to make a career out of, right? So
the toughest.
Thankfully for you, you're one of what I call like to call a jack of all trades, actor, writer, producer, creator. You put on all those different hats, right? So I guess that leads me perfectly into this next question. What can you tell me about 1985 Topps?
1985 Topps is my favorite sports card set of all time, hands down. It was the first set I ever collected. It was the first set that I would go to the card shop just to buy, go to the grocery store, because back then you could buy them at the grocery store. It wasn't just Target and Walmart. You go to the grocery store, you could go to 7-Eleven, and I would find them wherever I possibly could. Every cent of my allowance would go towards 1985 Topps. And Dwight Gooden was the big rookie in that set, especially in 85. He was massive. So I have the softest spot in my heart for 1985 Topps. It will never be junk wax to me.
Nice. Yeah. So to the audience watching or listening at home, they're probably like, what the hell does creating content in 1985 Topps have to do with anything? Well, to those who watch me on YouTube, I am very anti ripping wax and opening packs.
Wow.
However, my good friend Jeff here is on the opposite side of that spectrum, and I feel like you'll explain the reason why and what that has to do with creating content.
I can do that. So I started a show, and actually, you guys know how many breakers there are now with YouTube shows. I mean, you can't throw a rock without hitting one, or you can't throw a pack without hitting one. That would be a much more appropriate joke, right? So back in like 2009, 2010, which seems like, forever ago, but it wasn't that long. Yeah. I started a show because I've always loved opening packs, opening old packs, like packs from the 70s, packs from the 80s, whenever. And I was opening these great packs, and I was on a sports card forum, and I would tell my friends on the sports card forum, like, man, I opened these packs, and here's scans of the cards I got. But I realized there was kind of this gap in the enjoyment. Like, the real enjoyment is the treasure hunt, like opening up these packs or these boxes and not knowing what you're going to get. Maybe you're just going to fall on your face. Maybe you're going to pull, $1,000 card. Who knows? So I decided at the time that I would just set up this super rudimentary production setup. And this is, I was an actor at the time, but I wasn't involved in like creating content, and certainly at a professional level at that time myself. So I had this little DSLR camera on a tripod literally over my shoulder. The over your shoulder shot is a very popular production term, but this was literally pointed over my shoulder. And the idea was that I wanted people to feel like they were opening these packs with me. So I had the camera. Most of the shots were out of focus because there was no way for me to check focus when the camera's literally over my shoulder and I'm opening up the packs. And so I ended up creating this series called Pack Geek. And it was all about sharing the packs I was opening with my friends on the Collectors Universe forums, which was the PSA forum. It was kind of Blowout before Blowout became what, the monster it is today.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun. And, I loved the early days, and wax packs and boxes were a fraction of what they are now. So you could actually do a show breaking packs or boxes and not break the bank like you would now. So yeah, that's how I started Pack Geek, and that's really kind of the motivation behind doing that show.
Yeah, and what I love about Pack Geek is that it really shows the essence of yourself as a true collector, right? I'm the reason why I'm so anti ripping wax is because the people who do it, they do it for that dopamine hit. And those are the ones who find themselves going down that rabbit hole of like buying into so many breaks. And it's like gambling, right?
It is gambling for sure.
Yeah. And obviously if you're not doing it in healthy doses, or, if you're not doing it in healthy doses, it can get very, very dangerous, not only to yourself, but to your bank account and everything.
Dude, you aren't going out on a limb. This is legit.
Yeah.
It could be bad for your health. It could be certainly bad for your bank account, bad for your relationships. You can take enjoying breaking packs in a really dark direction.
Yeah. But what I love about how you do it is that you do it for the fun of it, right? It's like you said, it's like a poor man's treasure hunt, and the best part is you're ripping all these packs, for the nostalgia purposes, the ones from your childhood. And, I can kind of get the feeling that, I could get the sense of the storyteller and the content creator in you, like the filmmaker in you, because every episode that I've seen, it feels very much like the hero's journey. You're hunting for that one rookie card, and then it's like, oh, will he or won't he? And it's just, I absolutely love it, and that's what drew me to you as well as your content. So I appreciate.
Thank you, brother. Well, I always say this, and I can't tell you how many friends I have that wouldn't dare open a pack, much less a box of cards. Just they either collect, or they either that, or they see how bad of an investment it typically is opening the material, because at least 50% of the time you lose almost all value by opening that, unless you're pulling big cards. But I like, that's part of the fun of this show is I'm the guy out there kind of taking the risks for my friends. We're doing this first person so they can kind of feel like they're opening packs and they don't have to spend the money. Like let your buddy Jeff go and blow his allowance on cards, and you sit back and you buy the singles like a smart collector would, and you enjoy that. So it's the best of both worlds.
What was the best hit that you've ever had, and why is it the Flawless Mahomes?
Oh man. Well, I think if I have to look back on all the cards, it is probably the out of 5 Flawless Mahomes. It was the first time I'd ever even learned about Flawless product. I was learning from Tracy Hackler, who's with Panini. I mean, who better to tell you about a Panini product than their brand manager? So Tracy literally showed up at my house to tape an episode of the show. He brings this James Bond briefcase. I'm like, what have you got there? What are you doing? He, introduced me to this, and we had a wild box. I think there were 2 1-of-1s, and then there was a Mahomes out of 5 auto rookie, and it was just wild. But I always say that's my best hit. But I think if I go back, depending on when you're asking me, because card prices fluctuate so much. Yeah. I did have a break like way back when in 2009 or 2010, where I opened, I think 10 packs of 1980, 81 Topps basketball. Oh, wow. And I want to say I pulled 2 Bird Magic rookies, but it may have been just one. Okay. So that was a big hit, obviously. Yeah. Yeah. I did open one where it was 10 packs of 86 Topps football, and I pulled 2 Rice rookies. That was one of my best hits. I don't think it was 2 Bird Magic. I think I'm getting that confused with the Jerry Rice. But there's been a lot of big hits over the year. But I'm not a big case breaker. The
Right.
case breakers are the ones that
Who
pull
get the
like
big
the
hits.
$100,000 cards. So that's hard to compete with. I'm kind of like the treasure hunter on a budget. So I don't hit the big mother load all that often.
Mm-hmm. So I never personally have gotten like a big hit. Like I think the biggest hit I ever had was I went into an LCS. This was near the beginning of my entry into the hobby, and I just bought a random pack of 2018 hoops.
Okay.
And I pulled as you can see here, I pulled a base Luka rookie.
My man.
And I was losing my absolute shit. and the other owners of the card shop or whatever, they came out and they're like, what happened? And I'm like, I pulled a Luka. And he's like, oh. Because he thought I pulled like an auto or something like crazy like that. But to me at the time, because I didn't know any better. I was like, a Luka Doncic rookie. I was like,
dude, that's a great hit.
Yeah.
Hey, for the rest of us, we would have all been celebrating just like you, Ben. You kept it real.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that's what makes it exciting, right? Regardless of the actual monetary value of the card itself, it's that euphoric rush of when you pull it, and it takes you back to being a kid,
Dude, it's amazing. And it's sports cards are really fun, and I'd forgotten how much fun it was this is gonna sound weird. I'm gonna make myself sound like such an old dude, such a boomer. I for so long I collected vintage cards that I forgot how much fun it was to collect people who are still playing. So I started collecting Mahomes. I started collecting Luka. And it was like, it's so cool getting to watch these guys play and think like, I feel like I have a little bit of ownership in these athletes because, I've got a couple of their cards in my collection. That's a cool feeling, man. Cause like the ups and downs of their career, you kind of ride with them on that. I just love that. I think that's one of the best parts of the hobby is getting to feel like you have a certain amount of stake in these players' careers.
Yeah, it's like you have your own equity in each of these players, right?
Well said, exactly.
And it's fun. So I'm glad that you brought up both Mahomes and Luka, because those were like the two cards that we just referenced. You, my friend, are super, super spoiled because the reason why I'm wearing this is because you're living out in Dallas, but like you said, you grew up in Kansas, so. I mean, you got the Chiefs and the Mavs. So what's that like collecting two of the arguably the biggest stars of their generation right now? Like that's and being fans of their team.
Okay. So I gotta give a little context here. So okay. As Ben said, I grew up in Kansas. The Chiefs were our team. I was an hour outside of Kansas City. So naturally we were Chiefs fans, and the Chiefs were horrible for the vast majority of my life. So I earned the Super Bowl. I'm a big Chiefs fan, big Royals fan. Then when I moved to Texas, it was the first time other than living in LA. I don't count that because I don't like the LA teams. Sorry, Lakers fans. But when I moved to Dallas, I adopted the Mavs as my team, and they're great, but I was on the tail end of Dirk's career, so I'm like, I can't. I'm gonna look like such a bandwagoner if I'm all about Dirk. Mm-hmm. So when this new Luka guy came along, I was like, I love this kid. He's so fun. Is he really that good like everybody else? And at that point in time, I'd started collecting Mahomes kind of early on, and online I would post cards I'd pick up because that's what collectors do, and I got flagged so many times by people saying, do you only collect like the best rookies in the league or what's up? I'm like, I know why you're saying that. I get it. Because I would probably think the same thing if I was watching me from the outside, but these are literally my teams. I just lucked out and had generational talent on both the teams I follow, the Chiefs and the Mavericks. And so naturally I wanted to collect their new stars, but I get it. Anybody that has ever hated on Pack Geek because he only collects the hot players out there, like, sorry, I will buy more Jalen Brunson. I'm cool. That guy's going to be a star too, but whatever makes you guys feel better.
Yeah. That's why I asked that question. Because like, man, how many bandwagon comments how must you get on like a regular basis? Because it's like
Yeah.
if you know the backstory behind yourself and like your origins and everything, it's like, okay, I get it, but it's just
Right.
it's just so convenient that it's the two biggest stars of their sport where it's just like, oh man, that's hilarious.
Well, dude, it's true. And literally, when I started hearing these comments, I was like, I 100% understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I realize how this looks, but I can assure you, this is all legit fandom. But yeah, you know, I love your Mavs jersey, man. I didn't even realize that was a
Thanks,
Mavs
man.
jersey you're rocking
Thanks,
there.
man.
That's beautiful.
I wore it because, you know, in honor of my guests. I tried to like cater to each of my guests in some capacity, you know. But I appreciate that. I knew you'd like it. I knew you.
I thought the Winnie the Pooh was for me, though. Is that not for me?
Why is that? Wait, is there? Are you a Disney fan? Because if you're a Disney fan, this is gonna spiral into a whole new podcast.
I mean, not like an obsessive Disney fan, but I mean, I'm not a communist, so I do enjoy Disney.
Okay, I appreciate that.
You don't have a lot of communist listeners, do you?
I got to check my analytics for that, but I don't believe so. No, I don't think so. I think we're all good. We're all good.
We're good. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
All right. All right. So I have to ask, what's your favorite insert and why is it Kaboom?
Gosh, you set me up nicely for this because I was going to have to come up with Kaboom, but Kaboom is a beautiful combination of. I'm not a comic book guy, but I love comic books, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not a collector. I love all the movies. I love the characters. It is like, I've always been a fan of Superman and Batman, of course, because I love the biggest stars. No, because they're awesome. And then, of course, the cool design, like it's the ultimate combination of those two worlds in a sporting card. So what's not to like? It's a fanboy's dream, right?
Exactly. It's what I like to say. It's the perfect balance of sports and superheroes. It just combined into one. It's just
Gary V digs them.
Yeah.
Come on now, Ben.
Gary V digs them. Exactly. Have you ever pulled a Kaboom?
I have. Yeah.
Really?
It was a crummy one.
Okay.
Trying to remember what it was. Oh gosh, whose Kaboom was it? It escapes me. It was, dude. It's going to come to me during this at some point in time. I pulled one, and it was like the worst Kaboom you can pull.
No.
Yeah.
So it wasn't an episode of Packy, was it? Where it was like you were specifically Kaboom hunting? No, it was just one of those like random, like,
yeah. Dude, don't go Kaboom hunting. Buy them as singles. You will open up a million packs.
Yes.
They're tough.
They're hard to get. They're absolutely hard to get.
Do you have any Kabooms?
Oh man, you're getting the exclusive here. Oh shoot.
Lay it on me, Ben. Dude, I love the exclusive.
See, you always catch you've been catching me off guard because I'm not used to my guests asking me questions. So I'm like, oh,
I'm sorry, man. I'm
no,
naturally
it's all good. I love it.
Just like yourself.
I love it. This is one right here.
Here we go.
Special
sports
one.
fans.
Here we go.
Oh,
yeah,
dude, that's my favorite year. The 2018 basketball are so
exactly.
dope.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, what is not to like?
I mean, you know, Raptors fan, Kawhi Leonard. It's a given. But
so do you still like Kawhi? I have to ask.
Oh man. Oh, okay. So it's very much a love-hate relationship with Kawhi. The reason being is because yes, he brought us a championship. However, if Kawhi Leonard had stayed in Toronto, the Toronto Raptors would be three-peating right now. And I firmly believe that. It's a hot take. I know.
No. But they're definitely in contention.
Yes, absolutely. And I still believe that with how they did last year, and I'm going to piss off all of the Laker fans with this one, but we would have
this is what we're doing, right?
Exactly. We would have made light work of the Lakers if we still had Kawhi. Light work. just because
Beautiful. I love it, man.
we still had the same team. It was just, we were missing Kawhi, and look how far it got us. I mean, that series against Boston, I feel like was somewhat of a fluke. That it came down to the last game, and then again, I believe that we would have made work out of Miami. But to go back to the Kaboom, that's actually not the only Kaboom that I own.
Here we go.
You're getting another exclusive here.
Let's do this.
But here's the other.
Oh, wait, who am I seeing? I can't read that. Oh, nice. DeRozan. Very cool, man. That's a legit comic book pose they have him in there.
Yeah, so I got the pair here. This is the first time I'm ever showing them, but
not well. What is this, spring break?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Sorry, dude.
It just registered. Oh Jesus.
Hey man, you set me up.
I did.
This is great sketch comedy, Ben.
This is great. This is great. Your improv skills are absolutely on point. I underestimated them. So
did you ever take improv?
Yes. I took a class at Second City in Toronto.
Second City is as legit as it comes for our improv fans out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you a story after I graduated from my comedy writing performance program. I got accepted to Second City's film school in Chicago. Unfortunately, I was the first Canadian they had ever accepted, and they weren't prepared for that. So
wait, are you kidding me? Canadians are hilarious. How had they not accepted a Canadian before?
That's what I thought too, especially since Second City was pretty much the roots of it come from a lot of famous Canadian
SNL.
comedians.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But unfortunately, they didn't have the accreditations to sponsor me a visa, so I never got to go.
Dude.
Yeah.
That is what okay. Everybody, we need to send emails to Second City, Chicago. That is garbage.
Oh, man. It's it's rough, and I was very much bummed about it, but I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason.
Agreed.
Then,
same.
Different dominoes fall into place, and then one thing leads to another, and then it put me here talking to Mr. Pat Geek himself. So
there you go.
I consider that an absolute dub. Absolute dub. Have you So obviously, you're one of those OG. With Pat Geek is one of those OG hockey content shows, of course, right? And as I'm sure creating hobby content, the audience that you bring in can be very, very passionate, right? So Jeff, I have to ask, with Pat Geek, have you ever reunited two siblings?
My gosh, dude, you've done the most amazing research. I am so impressed. I don't even remember where I talked about that, but I remember the story. A guy, I don't remember if he emailed me directly or if it was a comment on a YouTube video, an old YouTube video, but a guy said something to the effect of my brother and I hadn't talked for a long time, maybe years. I might be taking liberties with the story. It was dramatic though. He hadn't talked to his sibling for a long time, and said that they either bonded over collecting cards and then watched some Pat Geek together, or they bonded over watching Pat Geek, which sounds awesome, but I don't remember if it was that great of a story or a climax. But it was very heartfelt, and honestly, it was the ultimate for me. I was thinking, if as a storyteller, the ultimate goal is always to affect people.
Absolutely.
You want to affect them in a good way. Mm-hmm. You want it to be memorable, and you want it to be heartfelt, or at least enjoyable. And I felt like I had literally, just out of opening these packs, I had done what I had set out to do as a storyteller. I had somehow affected these two, and it ended up helping their relationship. So that was just icing on the cake. But I was really, really flattered by hearing a story like that. And hopefully it wasn't made up, because I told my wife immediately, trying to convince her that I need to continue to do this. But yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, man.
Oh, that's absolutely incredible. Yeah, as you summed it up perfectly. As a storyteller, as a content creator, our ultimate goal is, with the stories that we tell, the content that we create, to impact someone in whatever way it is. For example, for me, I guess my personal story with that is I've had people, personally DM me, is like, yo, man, your videos are getting me through this pandemic. And I'm like, for me, it's just like, damn, really? Like,
that's heavy.
It's super heavy. And like, as I'm sure you felt for yourself, it's like, wow, it's like, I did my job, right?
But here's the thing, Ben. You're making a great product, and you're being honest. You're being yourself. You're making great, super fun content. I'm not surprised that's keeping somebody entertained during a horrible time, maybe the worst time of their lifetime. This is why we do it. But it's also why we sink our heart into the content, and why we stay up till 5 a.m. editing a video, or we put a little extra love into it because it makes it that much better. Like, that's why we do what we do. And dude, I'm happy you're being recognized, because you do great work, but you don't need me to tell you, because you probably got all sorts of people emailing you, telling you the same thing. But I believe that 100%.
Jeff, if you pump my ego anymore, I won't be able to fit through my door. It'll just be but I do appreciate that. Thank you from the bottom of my, especially coming from you. So
hey, man, it's just the truth, man.
Whether it's, getting people through a pandemic, or, reuniting siblings, all that fun stuff. Speaking of siblings, what can you tell me about St. Stephen Presbyterian Church?
I don't know. I don't know this. I don't remember the story. Give me a clue.
Okay. Let me think. What can you tell me about the movie The Proposal?
Okay. Great. Gosh, was that Fort God? Was St. Steve? Okay. I didn't know the name of that. We always call it Fort God. Now I know where you're going with this. Okay. So, my wonderful wife, Hillary, she went to school at TCU, which is Texas Christian University. It's a local Dallas-Fort Worth college on the Fort Worth side. And she used to always do her homework at this awesome little bluff. It was a church on a bluff. She nicknamed Fort God, because it looks like a fortress on top of this hill in Fort Worth. It's beautiful, scenic, old. It had lots of cool history with it. And so when I decided Hillary was the unlucky one that I wanted to propose to, I created this book it told the story of our relationship by the movies we had seen together. So I wrote this horrible poem. It was intended to be beautiful and heartfelt, but it was really cheesy. And it just told the story of our relationship. And the end was the proposal. We'd actually seen the proposal together. And so that was the natural segue to me asking her to marry me. And it was just corny enough that she fell for it. And I tricked her into marrying me. And yeah, that was pretty awesome, man. Gosh, your research is phenomenal. Dude, maybe you're supposed to be an investigative reporter.
I absolutely love that story. And you know what? It doesn't surprise me as well, when I discover that, because I'm like, with a storyteller of his caliber, I wouldn't expect him to go, he has to go all 9 yards, right? With that said, the reason why I said, speaking of siblings, is there's a phrase that I want you to enlighten me on, and it's from brother to sister to husband to wife.
I feel like I'm going to drop the ball here, Ben.
Some sort of wedding invite, or?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Sorry about that. I was thinking I'm missing this phrase. Yeah. So gosh, you teed this up perfectly for me. I'm sorry that I'm not as quick as your tee ups are.
It's all good. It's all good. It happens.
So Hillary and I, my wife, we met working on a movie. I was living in LA and she was living here, and I came back, and a director friend of mine in Dallas was directing this movie, and he asked me to come back and be in it and help him to produce it. So I came back. We our leading actress dropped out because, well, she didn't drop out. We had to let her go because she had a crazy schedule and we weren't going to be able to film around this. We had to film almost a solid month to get this thing done in time. And so we had to recast the female lead. So we saw a bunch of actresses, and there was one that was amazing, and that was Hillary. And our lead actor recommended Hillary because they were in acting class together. So anyways, long story short, we worked together for a month on this. She was amazing. I had a girlfriend at the time in LA. So like there weren't any real fireworks to speak of, but I thought she was wonderful, a wife material, as they say. Yeah. And so I moved back to LA. My girlfriend at the time and I ended up breaking up like 6 months later. I reached out to Hillary because I'm like, this girl was amazing. What are the chances she's not married or, has a serious boyfriend at the time? And so she, gosh, I'm taking this on a serious tangent. Anyways, I come back. I moved back to Dallas and we start dating. And then we end up getting engaged. So our engagement invitation, because Hillary has a sick sense of humor. Let me take one step back. In the movie, we played stepbrother and stepsister, kind of creepy after knowing we got married. But in the invitation for our engagement party, Hillary said from brother and sister to husband and wife. And there were some people that were invited that didn't know the whole backstory. And so we had a lot of questions to answer. But that's, gosh, what a convoluted story I had to tell to get to that. But dude, thanks for bringing that up. I love telling that story.
I absolutely loved it when I heard it. It's one of those, but then it's like, wow.
I believe
that's incredible. That's incredible.
It's definitely a double take story where people are like, pardon me?
Well, it goes to show that you're a family man in more ways than one,
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of family man, what can you tell me about Fox Connor?
Okay, so Fox Connor was a general in World War I. I believe he was with, So we knew we were having a son, and I have a crazy last name. It's spelled Hoferer. There's like a silent ER. These crazy Germans added a silent ER onto a name. So it looks like Hoferer, but it's pronounced Hofer. And so, growing up, being in class, the first day of school, inevitably the teacher would come to a name and she would say Jeff, and then it would just be a pause. And I'd be like, right here. I knew she couldn't pronounce my last name. It's crazy intimidating to look at. So I set out when I knew we were having a child to pick a name that was super easy to pronounce, was familiar and easy to spell. So we went around. We read about Fox Connor from World War I, a war hero. Hillary had a favorite soap opera character named Fox Crane. I can't tell you which soap opera it's from. We love the name Fox. So anyways, my son's name is Fox Hofer. And yes.
So I guess the $1 million question is, at what point do you pass your collection down to Fox?
Well, it will probably happen. He's interested. He is not, he doesn't have the collector hands yet. That's what I call them, because he will bend cards. He will try to eat cards. He will drop a pile of cards and have no remorse. He hasn't gotten quite to where he appreciates condition sensitivity of cards. Yeah. But I'm building him a collection already. So I'm putting together, it's a more well-rounded collection than my own, frankly, because I get so obsessed with a certain player and then I just buy their cards. I'm building him. We went to the Dallas Card Show recently, and Fox came with me. We walked around, and he had one goal. It was to buy a soccer card because he's playing.
Wow.
He's in daycare. He's playing soccer. He's 2.5, but he's already playing soccer. He didn't care about a baseball card or a basketball card or a football card. He wanted a soccer card. So we bought a Messi card. No, I'm sorry. We bought a Ronaldo card,
Nice.
but I got him a Messi card because I felt like he needed one of each. And so from there, my son has started building a soccer collection. And then I threw in a bunch of basketball, football, and baseball because I already had those. And I threw in some cards I thought would be timeless. So the idea is that I'm building this collection for him. And in 10 years, I'm telling him about it now, just teasing him, poor child. And in 10 years, I'm going to let him see the cards. He'll be roughly 12 or 13. Let him see the cards. If he wants to continue collecting, he can add on to those. Or if he wants me to just put them away and they can have him, when he's an adult, that's fine. Or, whatever we want to do. I'm going to put him away for 10 years though, because I think he'll have a lot more appreciation. And now I'm kind of trying to get him interested in just cards in general. So in 10 years, he'll know what to do with some cool cards.
That's incredible, man. And that actually segues perfectly into my final question for you, which I'll lead off with a quote first that I think you'll appreciate. That I think you'll appreciate this one. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. So with that said, if I had to ask, what would you tell 13-year-old Jeff?
Oh my gosh. From a life perspective or collecting perspective?
Life perspective.
Life perspective. All right.
We get deep here.
This has been great, Ben. Before I answer this, man, I've had a blast chatting with you. This has been awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I would tell Jeff, first off, I would have been an 8th grader, almost going into high school. Don't sweat the kid stuff, because I feel like kids get really wrapped up in stuff that isn't going to matter in 5 years. That was one of the best lessons I learned in life. And I didn't learn it until I was an adult, but it was the idea of that you take something that's going on to you at a certain day and think about it in terms of, is this going to matter in 5 years? And it really puts things in perspective. So I think I would try to tell young Jeff, to keep things in perspective, things that seem big now, don't worry about them. But also just to enjoy being without lots of, you don't have a full-time job. You don't have, a child to take care of. You don't have all these responsibilities that kind of add stress to an adult's life. Enjoy having a 3-month summer off, do the things you can now with all this spare time. You don't realize as a 13-year-old how much spare time you have and how amazing it is to be able to take a nap whenever you want. You just you're riding the wave at that point in time. So I think it would be a combination of stop and smell the flowers, enjoy having very few responsibilities, and don't sweat the small stuff.
And that's what I call a Jeff Hofer fairy tale ending.
That was my kaboom ending.
That was your kaboom.